Hello Cancers, happy Cancer season, happy birthday season to you guys. I hope that it's been great. I'm going to do a little bit of talking here at the beginning of the video, and I know some people absolutely hate that, so I'm going to put some markers up here for you guys, and if you want to watch the pre-shuffle, can go to the time that's indicated there. If you want to jump right to where I start the reading, you can go to that time marker. That way you don't have to listen to me here, you can go ahead. And for those people who are still with me here, I'm just going to give a little bit of general information and some insight for you guys. Most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with this, but this is a general reading for Cancer, Sun, Moon, Venus, and Rising signs, and for the cross watchers, of course. And take whatever resonates within the reading with you, and if something doesn't resonate, don't try to force it, don't try to read into it. It's a general reading. And you should never try to find something. If it doesn't connect, it doesn't connect. If this particular reading doesn't connect with you, you can check out your rising sign video and also your moon or Venus sign videos if you know what those are. And if you don't, there are resources online to help you find that out as long as you have your birth information. So, with that part said, I want to just let you guys know I did get lots of feedback about the videos last month, and people really liked the format. I did change it a little bit this month, though. I'm not going to go in depth about the spread itself in this video. I recorded that and I put it up as a separate video, and I'll put the link to that video in the description box below. But if you're someone that wants to know lots more in-depth information about this spread in particular, and hear me talk a little bit more about the reason behind formatting the spread the way that I did, and also the connections and the different ways of finding out information and looking at the spread, you can go to that video and all that information is there. And then after you've watched that, you can come back here. For those of you who don't want to spend the time watching that, I am going to put up little title, like almost like chapter markers in between each section. That'll just give a really quick 30-second breakdown of what the cards represent in terms of the spread. So you won't be totally lost if you don't go to watch it. But I know some people just really like to know more about the spread for various reasons. So I'm still going to do it, but it's not going to be part of the videos moving forward. It'll always just be a standalone video that I'll link to. So I'm assuming at this point, everyone that wants to go watch that video has gone to watch it and they've come back to where they were. I'm going to go into the pre-shuffle here, and that will be the same as it was last month. I'll just record the whole process of my pre-shuffle and meditation process, and then give you guys some music and a nice little voiceover explaining the cards that come out. The reason I don't do that as part of the video is because sometimes I will meditate and focus on the cards and shuffle for a very long time, and the videos are already pretty long as they are. But also, I listen to music that would have a copyright on it, and YouTube doesn't allow those to be played, so I would have to kill the audio anyway. So this just works. You guys get to see the cards, you get to see me shuffling, and you get an explanation of what happened during the pre-shuffle. When we're done with the pre-shuffle, we will go right into the reading, and we'll see what's going on for you guys, Cancer. I hope that you enjoy this reading. I hope that whatever it is that you're seeking guidance or answers for, find it here. But again, if not, it might just be that I connected to a portion of the collective that needs this reading a little bit more, and that's the way it goes sometimes. So for those of you who this reading is going to be for, I hope that it is amazing for you. So let's go ahead and get to the pre-shuffle. Cancer, you're taking stock of what truly matters to you. It's possible that you've been trying to bring happiness and satisfaction into your life through acquiring material things, but you're realizing now that only love can make you feel truly happy. You could be feeling the need to hide out and protect yourself, or eliminate anyone who is disruptive to your stable home environment, and that's fine. You need to do what you need to do so that you feel stable and secure right now. But be mindful if you're being really self-critical. Is there something or someone that you really want to pursue with all of your heart, but you're holding yourself back? You can continue to wear yourself out with this doubt and worry, or you could just try it and see what happens. It either works or it doesn't. But if you don't do anything about it, then it's definitely not going to work. So go ahead and take the shot. I can tell that you're really working hard towards some goal, and even though it's really hard on you, you feel that it's worth it. You might need to reprioritize some things though, because you can't actually be in 3 places all at the same time. You're right on the verge of closing out a big cycle, but before you can do that, you have to know what you want next. When this cycle closes, another will begin, and it's very important that you set the tone of that new one. Aim for something that's fun and exciting. Because right now, you're having to really turn inward and take a look at your dark side. I think that you've realized that you're very often the cause of a lot of your more dramatic and upsetting experiences. And you know on some level that there are beliefs or fears within you which are the root cause of that behavior. Just like you would confront someone else who was being mean, you will confront yourself so you can release the things that hold you back and make you self-sabotage. Learning how to love and accept yourself is really vital here. So, change what you can, heal what you can't, and build yourself up, because you're pretty amazing. Okay, Cancer, welcome to the actual reading. I hope that you enjoyed the pre-shuffle, and I'm going to just switch you guys over to this view for a moment while I lay the actual spread out. I do encourage people at this point, since I am about to start the reading, during this time when I'm actually laying the spread out, if you do have any specific intentions that you want for this reading, if there's any sort of specific issue that you're looking for guidance on, any particular person, now's the time to focus your energy in on that. Keep in mind with general readings that the energies can be reversed. So if you feel like you are relating more to what I refer to as the other person, more so than when I say Cancer, that's totally normal. It can happen. Don't overthink it. All right. So let's see what we have going on here. I'm going to switch you guys back to me, and I'm going to put up the little title slide for people who do not know anything about the spread, just so they can see that, and as a refresher for you guys who did go to watch the video. I'm going to go ahead and put that up now, and then when we come back, I'll start with these first 3 cards here in the middle. Okay guys, welcome back from that. I'm going to switch you guys back over here. I'm going to go ahead and turn over the first 3 cards. I'm going to take a look at them all together as a group. Interesting. And I'll go back to me. So let's talk about the overall energy showing up here for you guys. Just show this camera. So you have the 2 of Coins coming out reversed as the overall energy here. It definitely feels like there is a bit of a feeling that you are how do I want to say this? It's not that you feel like you're running yourself down, which is what I almost said, but you just feel like you can't keep up with all of the things that you've committed yourself to. It's this energy of, I didn't think about this. It feels almost related, honestly, to your birthday season. Like, it seems like you've tried to say yes to everything that people want you to do. And what you're realizing is that, you know, while it's fun and you love seeing people and connecting with people, it's also just, it feels very much like it's become almost a job. and you are constantly running from one thing to the next, and it's created a situation where you're not really even able to enjoy things because you feel like as soon as you show up, you're having to turn around and leave to go somewhere else. And this, of course, is a little interesting, showing up as the overall energy in terms of a love reading, but it sort of makes sense based on the other cards here. Let me show you the other two cards. So keep in mind, these two cards talk about the connection. This card represents the connection itself between these two people. Focus. There we go. So you have death coming out reversed. And then the purpose of that connection between these two people, you have the Eight of Wands upright. It's interesting. I don't normally mention signs, but sometimes if I feel like I need to, if I need to actually point it out, then I will. And I, just feel like I need to say the Death card is the card that represents Scorpio. So some of you might be dealing with a Scorpio, or you might have some sort of Scorpio connection, heavy Scorpio in your chart. For some reason, I felt like I needed to actually mention that. Typically, I don't mention them, so there you go. This card is about fearing change and knowing that you need to let things go, but holding on to it very tightly. The other thing that comes along with this card is that, Cancers, I feel like a lot of you are in a space where you are, it's so similar energetically to this first card. It feels like you're just realizing that you have all of these things with all of this emotional energy around them. And you've come to this realization that you're constantly in the state of not necessarily fully reliving old pain and old hurts, but having that energy around you, having the energy of the things that happened. And you're starting to go through and just process and release those things. It's an interesting type of purge because even though these things that happened were very painful, the way that I'm picking up on, for those of you that this is resonating, this makes sense, it's almost like if you told a kid that they needed to get rid of some of their toys and donate them, and the kid doesn't necessarily put up a fight about it because maybe they realize that they have a lot of toys, but it's like the toy that they haven't played with in 3 months, they just pick it up and they look at it like, I'm gonna miss you, and I had so much fun with you, but I don't play with you anymore. And that's, Cancer, that's what I feel like you guys are doing with all of these painful memories. It's like you focus in on it and you look at it and you think about the person and you think about the pain, and then you remember the good things and you look at it and you find a way of being thankful that you had it, that you had that experience. And when you get to that space where you feel like, even if it was something that was very painful, even if it was something that you felt at the time, like you would just never be able to recover from it, you realize that you've actually managed to recover from it, and you've learned, you've grown, you've gotten wiser, and it hasn't actually made you be cold or bitter. And that makes you really happy. Because I think for a lot of Cancers, that is a big fear. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out in terms of like fears and things that need to heal. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the notion of having experiences and pain eventually lead you to the place where you can't feel and you're cold and cut off and bitter or jaded, I think that is a big fear for a lot of cancers just in general. I think for all of the water signs, that's true, but I think for Cancer, it carries an additional weight just because Cancers don't ever want to not be able to connect with people. And because that's so important, and how they connect with people is through feelings and emotions so much, it's a big fear. So let's talk about the purpose of this connection, though, because if I look at death reversed, and I'm not making it just specific to Cancer as an overall thing, but I'm thinking about this as a connection between two people, it would be the same notion. The connection is one where you know that things need to change. You know that things aren't necessarily the best. You know that they might have a lot of conflict. They might have these two people between them, there's plenty for them to focus on and try to heal and unpack. But they don't necessarily do it because there's a fear of that and a resistance to it. So coming out here, you have the Eight of Wands upright in terms of the purpose of these two people having that sort of connection. And what's really interesting here is this card itself just represents action and really fast-paced change. Things that is something that swiftly was very different suddenly. It's a card of forward movement. And this makes sense to me because this connection feels very much like, you know, as I was saying earlier about Cancer sort of taking things out and looking at it and just trying to find a way of loving it. I feel like for this particular connection with this person, it's almost like when you pick it up to look at it, it's too much, so you put that down. Then you go and you pick up something else and you deal with that thing. And whenever this connection comes back up, you're like, no, not yet. That's what it feels like. And I think for a lot of you, the reason that you don't want to unpack that is because hindsight now, looking back at it, you realize that very early on, very, very early on, there were indications and things that were fairly obvious that this was not something that was necessarily good for you or something that aligned with what you were ultimately looking for. But this death reverse, this connection between the two people where it's like, for some reason, it feels like neither person was willing to say, this isn't working, or this upset me, or I don't like this, or this isn't okay with me. Both sides feel like they just sort of got stuck in not being able to express those things and not being able to get into the connection and actually change it and heal it. It's like they both stepped back, and even though they were in the connection, they weren't engaged with it. And so what happened is that it just got to do whatever it was going to do on its own. There was no supervision here. And the lesson is that you have to be able to trust your intuition and trust your gut. When you get that inner feeling that, oh yeah, I don't think this is going to work out. This doesn't feel like what I want. Follow that. There's this feeling, I think, from you, Cancer, that I'm picking up here that I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing because this sounds so counterintuitive. But it's like, for you, you have this feeling that, well, yeah, sometimes it's really bad at the beginning to test you, to make sure that you really want a relationship. And so it's really hard because it makes you prove that you're all in, that you're serious, you're committed. If that resonates with you, I just, I would like to say that that's not necessarily true. If something feels painful and if something is really hard and if something is really not making you feel good and not bringing something good and adding to your life, then it might just mean that it's not a good fit. And it would be a better use of your time to just move forward and to try to find something that feels better, to try to find something that feels like you're excited to be in it. That's really interesting because it sounds very water sign, and it's just this notion that it's like artists who feel like you have to suffer for your art. Cancer, a lot of you are feeling like you have a belief that you have to suffer for love, that you have to experience a lot of pain, you have to experience a lot of disappointment and challenges and lots of fights and arguments, and that is what ultimately a relationship is. It's this feeling that a relationship, a connection, is one that is, you're always just right on the verge of it all falling apart, and you're just constantly trying to hold it together, and that the act of holding that chaos together and not having it explode, this has become how you define a relationship. It's just trying to keep it all contained. That's not healthy for you. And that's not what a real, loving, spiritually based relationship feels like. So I think this section is done. I want to go ahead and move into the top section here, which is the story of what happened between these two people. I'm going to put up the title slide just to give an explanation of what each of the cards means. And then when we're back, I'll flip those over and we'll take a look. Okay, so I'm going to switch angles here. I'm going to go ahead and turn all four over and take a look here just to see what's going on. Wow, Cancer. Very interesting cards coming out here. Okay, well, Cancer, I'm going to start with you, actually. It feels very much like this is where I need to begin. I'm going to talk about these two cards together first. I'm actually going to switch back to this just to show you. So this card is your current emotional state. This card is your underlying fear or issue. So what we have here are the Lovers reversed with the King of Swords upright. Now this is very interesting. So the current emotional state that you find yourself in, Cancer, is a feeling of lots of conflict, lots of arguments. And definitely there's been a relationship that was an important relationship to you, and a relationship that felt like it had meaning, felt that it had a purpose, felt that there was a deeper aspect to that relationship than maybe with others that you might have. Okay, that relationship has come to an end, and it was caused by there being this strife and just lots of areas where there were conflict, not just a few, lots of them. And even though that is true, you still find yourself in a place where you aren't sure. You aren't sure that this is something that you need to let go or that you need to walk away from. It still exists within you. And what's interesting here is the underlying fear for you, this King of Swords energy, this is all coming together so clearly because this card is about the ultimate in truth. This card is about so much clarity in your mind about something that it just feels like an absolute truth internally. And it's owning a certain level of authority, owning a certain level of confidence inside yourself that the choices that you make are intelligent ones, smart ones, logical ones. This is a fear that you have. You doubt your ability to gauge the truth in a situation. You doubt your ability to be able to gauge the reality of a person. You really have low faith in your ability to see things for how they actually are. It's a big fear. And that's so tied to this feeling of indecision about whether or not this was like the relationship. Now, I just want to talk to you about this other person because their current emotional state is the sun. So I can get this to focus for you guys. Not wanting to. Well, it's the sun coming out here. I have to be honest, this sort of made me laugh when it came out because for Cancer, there's this big emotional lover's reversed energy for the current emotional state. It's a very heavy emotional state. And then this other person comes out as the sun upright. They just feel like everything is great and they are having a good time, nothing's bothering them, they're going about their business, they're feeling like life has never been so good. And I don't mean to say that in terms of like, you know, pouring salt in a wound, if that is what it feels like, but I think that it's important in any situation, if we are putting in a ton of emotional investment into someone or something, and that person isn't necessarily, they don't appreciate it, or they don't even acknowledge it, or maybe they use it because it adds something to their life, but then they don't return that towards us, I would want to know that. It's interesting as well because of what came out for them with their underlying fear or issue. We have the Seven of Swords coming out upright. This is the card of betrayal. This is the card of someone being deceptive. It's when someone does something and they get away with no consequences, or maybe they just get away with it in general. They don't get caught. They don't get punished. I don't necessarily feel like this person is scared of this being done to them. And I say that because their current emotional state is the Sun card, upright. You don't get any more positive than that. I feel like their fear is that they will be found out that they do this. That they are someone who's very deceptive. That they are someone who's prone to betraying other people. I think for some of you, it is a fear that they'll get caught. What I'm hearing, though, is for some of them, it's a fear of admitting to themselves that that's how they are. That they do have an awareness of it, but they so don't see themselves that way, and they so don't want to be that way, that they almost like push it away to the point that they're in denial themselves about it. Like they actually fear that side of themselves, and so they try to act like it's not true. But because they act like that's not true about them, it's a similar thing that I was saying here, where like no one was driving the car. They both just sort of went, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to make any decisions here. I'm not going to stop this, even though I can tell right out the gate this is not going to go well. This is not going to feel good. This is not going to be what I want. But I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to just suffer through this until I get there, right? That was at the beginning. Well, for this person, it's the same sort of energy, except it's about how they are with people. So they push it so far away that they don't even own it about themselves. And because of that, because they don't own it about themselves, they don't think that any of the things that they do come from that place. I hope that that makes sense. It's a little bit challenging to explain it because it's something that's very much just a feeling. But this person is very prone to betraying people and being deceptive. Very. Across the board. In relationships, with friendships, in their job. They're very deceptive. And they will turn on someone, especially if they feel like that person might turn on them first. They will instantly go after this person. I feel like this person, whoever they are the ones that ultimately did make the cut here. And it feels like this King of Swords, Cancer, for some of you, I just want to go back to this because I'm getting a vibe from this card for some of you that it's not necessarily that you fear or that you doubt, you don't trust your own ability to make good choices, and so therefore you have the fear that you're not good at that. That's true for most of you, but for some of you, what this is, this underlying fear or issue, is that you knew what was going on here. Like you knew it 100% inside of yourself. And even though you knew that, even though you had that truth internally, you still couldn't break away from it. And that has caused fear inside of you around why. Why would I not end something that was this bad? Why did I endure all the things that I did? Why did I not stand up for myself? Why did this person become the person that got to cut this off? And it's like they've left you in this really heavy state, and then they've just gone off because they're like, oh, I got out of that before they could call me out. I got out of that before I got found out. I got out of that before, anything happened that would have, outed me. I hope that that makes sense, because energetically, I don't feel a lot flowing from this side. And it's interesting because if you look at this card, I'm going to show you the card, but then this is what I want you to see. When I lay this card down, what's actually here is this person they still have the swords pointed over towards you. That's the only energy that I feel coming from them, is they're on guard against you. But I don't feel that it's because you hurt them. I just feel like it's how they are. They have this tendency to they make people out to be the bad guy. They make people out to have a desire to hurt them or harm them, even when that isn't true. And because of that, they're always ready to go to battle or to defend themselves. So I want to go ahead and move into the next section here because this is what lies ahead, and I'm really curious about that. I'm sure you are as well. So I'm going to throw the title slide up for you guys, and we'll be right back and flip these cards over. Okay, welcome back. I'm going to go ahead and turn all 4 cards over. I don't feel like I need to leave any not showing. Okay. Very interesting cards. I'm going to start by talking with you guys about the desired outcome for both people. So Cancer, for you, in terms of desired outcome, we have the 6 of Swords here. Why the camera is having such a hard time focusing. The other person's desired outcome, we have the Ace of Swords reversed. There we go. Okay, let's talk about this. Cancer, for you, you're in a place, like I said earlier, where you're just trying to go through everything bit by bit, piece by piece. You're just trying to, like, you can't deal with this yet. You can't deal with this particular person, this particular connection yet. So you're just thinking, okay, well, if I can't deal with this, maybe if I deal with all this other stuff, it'll at least give me enough space and let me feel like I've gotten enough stuff off of me that I can maybe finally deal with this. You are in a space where you're wanting to let go of all those things, and it feels very much for you that, like I said at the beginning, that energy of, yeah, that was really bad and I still can't deal with it, but I also know, like, it didn't change who I am. It didn't make me bitter. It didn't make me fear connecting with people. It didn't make me feel like everyone is going to be this way. And that's something that feels very good to you. It's something that is allowing you to really have an inner breakthrough and a connection with who you are and how you want to be, and a sense of pride about that. It's interesting with the other person. Their desired outcome here, the Ace of Swords reversed, is this is such weird energy. So part of what they want here is for you to have this doubt that you have, that I mentioned here with the Lover's card reversed. They want you to not be certain. They want it to feel like you can't trust your judgment about them. They want you to think about them differently than how they feel like you were starting to think about them. And I feel like what they're doing is they're banking on you remaining in a place where you don't have that King of Swords moment. They don't want you to ever have certainty about them. They don't want you to ever make up your mind, because they always want to have an end to come back. It's very, very interesting, the cards that came out in terms of what needs to heal for both of you guys. Cancer, for you, you have the Ten of Cups upright. For the other person, we have the Three of Cups, also upright. We'll start with them. The Three of Cups coming out here as the thing that this other person needs to heal this is actually kind of sad, honestly. This person has never really been able to establish real connections. This person has never been able to have friendships, much less friendships that last for a long time, or having a group of people that they can see as support. This person is someone who forms very superficial connections with people. They don't know how to deepen them. They don't know how to establish a connection that lasts through any sort of turbulence. Because for them, it's not even like they let a relationship progress to the point where things actually get tough. The first sign of anything, they bounce, they're out. And it's based on fear. It's based on the Seven of Swords that's above their underlying fear issue. That notion of just, because they know how they are, because they know how they think, but they don't really connect to it, but on some level they know it, and they don't want to feel like they're different than everyone else, they assume that everyone thinks and feels the way they do. Which means to them, everyone is potentially up to no good. Everyone's potentially trying to be deceptive. And so that means they just act that way too. But it also means they don't trust anyone. They don't trust anybody. And so they don't understand how people can get close, because doing that requires so much trust in someone to really open up and become like close to them, because then they could hurt you. They could cause you pain. They could decide to leave. They could abandon you. And that freaks this person out a lot. So they're constantly trying to form connections and not having it work. And then that almost serves as proof to them that you can't trust people. And it's a cycle that they are caught up in. And for you, Cancer, this Ten of Cups upright that came out, I don't know for sure that I need to talk about this again, but we will. It's what I was saying earlier, in that you know inside you, you know 100% what you really truly want a romantic connection to be like. You know what you want it to feel like. You know what you want, down to the small details. The types of trips that you would take, what date nights would be like, the sort of the way that you would be when you were flirting with each other, the way that you would be when you were joking around. You have very specific things in your mind. But for whatever reason, you settle for less than that. You settle for things that aren't even close to it. And there's probably something here with you that it might be a fear of actually having it, because of fears of abandonment or fears of commitment. It could be that you don't feel that you're worthy of it. I feel for some of you, there's been just lots of messaging over the course of your life that you weren't lovable, or that you were too hard to love or too challenging to love. And you've internalized that as being true, even though it's not. There's lots for you to heal around the embracing of a truly blissful and divine relationship that is aligned spiritually and romantically and physically. There's a fear of that. And whatever the cause of that fear is, whatever this King of Swords is tied into it. All the things that I talked about with the underlying fears or issues, you have to learn how to heal that stuff so that this can heal. So that you can feel like you honestly can trust yourself and that you do have good judgment, because you do. If I asked you to write down the things that you want in a relationship, you would be describing a very healthy relationship. But then if I asked you, okay, well, write down on this other piece of paper what your last relationship was like, none of the stuff from your first thing would be on the second one. So think about that, okay? So we're going to move into the last part here. These are divine messages. I am just going to give a little bit of a message here. in case people didn't go to watch the other video. So these are going to be messages that come through, but you get to pick who the source of these messages are. So during the break, if you need to pause to think about this, feel free. When I come back, I'll flip these over. Each of you by that point will have decided who you want these messages to come from. So that could be from a guardian angel, a spirit guide. It could be from a twin flame. It could be from someone that you love that has passed away and you want to have the message come from them. It could even be from yourself, a year into the future, 5 years into the future. You totally get to decide who it is. I just want you to do that. I'm going to put the title slide up, and then when we come over, I'll deliver those messages for whoever it is that you want to hear from. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's go ahead and take a look at these and then we'll wrap things up. Very interesting. Let's see if we can get this camera to focus. So advice guidance coming out here. You have the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Let's talk about this a little bit. When the Wheel of Fortune comes out reversed, and it's advice. It's something that's already been said many times in this reading. You have to let certain cycles end. You have to stop clinging to this notion that you have control over turning something that's bad, turning something that's not healthy, into something that is healthy by loving hard enough or sacrificing hard enough. That has to be something that you let go of, because you're trapping yourself in a series of bad connections. But for you, it almost feels like it's just bad luck. And what this reading is trying to get you to see is that luck has nothing to do with it. If you're honest, if you allow yourself to, I just have to point out here something really quickly. You had the Death card come out reversed at the top of the reading. You now have the Wheel of Fortune come out reversed here at the end as advice guidance. In terms of what needs to heal, you have another card that is about completions. It's almost comical. The thing you need, the purpose of the connection, remember the Eight of Wands. This is another card that's about making a decision quickly, moving forward. This entire reading has been saying, learn how to let things go. Learn how to let things end. Learn how to stop cycles. And the only way that you can stop a cycle is if you acknowledge that the cycle is there to begin with. So you have to be able to, when you're taking these things out, Cancer, and you're looking at them individually and you're saying, okay, well, this is what happened and this is hurt, but I bless you and I appreciate you and you put it down. When you're looking at these things one by one, you're missing something. When you look at them, you have to look and you have to pick them all up and you have to look at all of it. And you have to say, wow, look, there's a pattern, here's a pattern, there's a cycle, right? You have to change how you're looking at things because you're missing a lot of patterns and cycles in your life that you aren't even aware exist. So we're going to take a look here at the most likely outcome. I'm going to talk to you about what that means. But first, I'll show you the card. I have the Five of Swords coming out upright. For those of you who know tarot, you're probably laughing at this point. In terms of this connection, if nothing changes, if it just continues how it is with this person, hoping you don't change your mind about them and they always have a way in, and you not knowing whether you should give up or not, there being all this reluctancy on your part to let anything end or face any of these truths, this other person just going about their life and feeling, however they want to feel, with a guard up against you, not being able to form connections with people. Yeah, it makes sense the Five of Swords is going to be the ultimate outcome, because that's all about disagreements and conflict and fighting, and this notion that there has to be a winner. There has to be a winner who takes it all. There's no room for both people to win. This is not something that, without a lot of healing and a lot of work on both sides, this is not something that is always going to feel hard and painful. It's always going to feel challenging. It's always going to be full of just conflict and pain and sadness. It's not something that you should fight for, honestly. Not at this point. It's like I said, if both of these people put in the effort and they do the work that they need to do and they heal the things they need to heal, that's a completely different story. But where we're at right now, with the energy of these two people, there's not a lot here that can turn into something that's good, that brings joy, something that makes you feel happy that you're in it. So the more that you can start to realize and unravel patterns and cycles that exist in your life, that's the work that you need to do. And in terms of the work of the other person, you have no control over that. It's up to them whether they ever face the truth about themselves. It's up to them whether they do anything about it, even if they do. You don't have the ability to help them see that. You don't have the ability to do it for them. It's absolutely 100% under their control, and you have no control over it. And when you realize that, when you get to the point where you realize that is true about that other person, it lets you start to not focus on them anymore and focus on yourself. And it's interesting that this reading is being done now, because we literally have an eclipse that's just right here. And I'm trying to do as many readings as I can prior to that, just because I want people to have a certain amount of insight going into that eclipse. Partially because eclipses often bring people back, bring up old stuff, but also your intention during an eclipse, what you are energetically and spiritually putting out there, really matters. So ask for guidance around being able to see the patterns and cycles in your life, Cancer. I feel that doing that type of work will benefit you more than anything else. So I feel that that is a good place to stop. I do hope that you enjoyed this reading. I actually really enjoyed doing it for you. I ask that if you did enjoy the reading and you're still here, please take a moment just to give the video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. I love getting comments from you guys. I do read them. I do go in and respond. I enjoy being able to interact with you guys. And I also encourage you to interact with each other in the comments. If you have advice to share, share that. If you need advice, ask for it. There are people who are going through similar situations, and I've seen in other videos in the comments where people have started jumping in and helping each other and just really offering really solid advice and input and knowledge that they've accumulated from their own journey. So please do interact. And if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, I really would love it if you did. I'm so excited to see the community starting to grow and people wanting to join up here. I get excited every time I see the subscriber count go up, because I just know that it's more potential for people to work together and collaborate and share their stories, and to see that whatever it is that they're going through, they're not alone in it, that other people either have gone through it or are experiencing it as well right now. That is the reason that I do this, and that is my end goal. So please do take a moment to subscribe. I look forward to doing your reading next month and seeing what's happening with you guys. Again, happy birthday season to you. I hope that it's been a great one, and I hope that the year ahead for you is just the best one that you've had yet. So thank you so much. I'll see you guys next month.